Hi everybody, my name is Anthony Codispoti, founder of Eat Green Tea, and today's video blog post is entitled Mother Nature Blew Me Away. A few weeks back, I returned from an amazing honeymoon to South America with my new wife, Kayla. But before we could get to the amazing part of our trip, we first had to overcome a pretty bumpy start. See, as we arrived to the airport, we were really excited, and it's a place neither one of us had ever been before, so really looking forward to it. However, we didn't realize that the very first adventure that we would encounter would occur right inside the airport itself. See, as we checked in for our flight, we were informed that a visa was required to enter Brazil, at least 1 week to get one. So you can imagine how this made us feel. Now, I've had the good fortune to travel quite a bit, so I was actually really surprised on two different fronts. One, that I needed a visa to enter Brazil at all. I've traveled to places that needed a visa before, but I typically think of them as being a bit more exotic. You know, places like China, India, Vietnam. However, I was actually more surprised with myself that I didn't take that extra step to look into it and see if it actually was required, rather than just making the assumption that it wasn't. So over the next several hours, things were pretty stressful as we furiously worked the phones in between our connecting flights. I spoke to a total of 3 different Brazilian consulates here in the U.S., 4 professional visa agencies. This is what they do. They help people get visas. Friends, family, a bunch of people working at the airports and the different cities we were connecting in. And through this whole process, I learned a few things. One, I've got very supportive friends and family. To be fair, I didn't actually learn this from this experience. I was just reminded of it, which was pretty comforting. 2, the Brazilian consulate doesn't consider a honeymoon to be an emergency, and thus we didn't qualify for their 24-hour expedited service. And 3, you can actually plan an overseas vacation on very short notice, or in our case, replan an overseas vacation on very short notice. You learn a lot of things about yourself when you're backed up against a wall. And you learn about other people, too, during the most stressful times of the life's events. Now, I have never questioned what an all-star partner I have in Kayla. But going through this whole experience with her reaffirmed what a great companion she's going to be for the rest of our lives. The only time during all of this debacle that she shed a tear was because she felt bad that I wasn't going to get to go to the Amazon, which she knew I was really excited about. I just thought that was pretty touching. She didn't sort of get upset that, you know, things had been overlooked and that she was going to miss out and this was her honeymoon. It was just how it was going to affect me. So we stuck together. We took care of each other. We didn't blame each other for the oversight, even though it was mostly my fault. We acted as a team, and I'm pretty excited because, you know, that's the person I get to spend the rest of my life with. It's the same kind of person I like to do business with, and I try to exhibit those same team player, partner qualities in servicing my Eat Green Tea customers. So back to the story. To top off a really bad day, the airline lost my luggage. And at that point, I just had to laugh out loud. Actually, we both did. The day had just been so comically bad. It was as if, you know, it was something you'd write in a movie script, like planes, trains, and automobiles. It was just kind of getting ridiculous. So we spent the night in Miami. We had a nice dinner and a drink as we laughed at ourselves and just, you know, sort of remarked out loud. The good news is it can only get better from here. It really can't get any worse. But having lost my luggage and being disgusted at the prospect of several days in the same pair of underwear, I found really the closest store to us at our hotel, which was a nearby Winn-Dixie. It's a grocery store chain, to buy some fresh undergarments. Unfortunately, Winn-Dixie didn't have traditional underwear, so I went to the next best thing, which was adult Depends. I didn't really need them, but I could have gotten by wearing some dirty underwear for a couple of days. But I thought it would provide us with a pretty good laugh on an otherwise gloomy day, and it did. We laughed over it pretty good. So, anytime you talk about adult depends, I think sort of the natural mental transition is, okay, did you use them? And it was my full intention to do so, just to have the full experience. But somehow I never got around to it. By the time I was in a position to trade the Depends in for my regular underwear, I was really kind of over the whole experience and just wanted to get cleaned up and into some fresh clothes. So I'm sure at some point in my life I'll actually need these for real, and by then I'm sure I'll stop laughing about adult Depends. So in the end, I did find my luggage. Notice I didn't say the airline found my luggage. See, I spent hours scanning around the different baggage claims locations in Miami and found it buried underneath a pile of other bags that they didn't know what to do with. The tag had come off of the suitcase, so they didn't know whose it was, and they likely would have never figured it out. So I think the lesson learned here is, at the risk of appearing anal retentive, put a couple of different name tags at different ends of your bags, just in case they get ripped off. In the course of 24 hours, we rebooked about 9 or 10 days of our planned 2-week vacation. Brazil was out, and in came Santiago, Chile, and Iguazu Falls, as they pronounce it, in Argentina. And we're still on course for Buenos Aires and Mendoza, which is the wine region there in Argentina. So if you're one of those people that believe that things happen for a reason, then there were 2 reasons why we were denied entry to Brazil. I'll discuss the first one in this post, and then the second one in a subsequent post. But being denied entry to Brazil opened the door up for us to witness, honestly, what was the most amazing example of Mother Nature I've ever experienced in my 38 years of living, and my travels to about 3 dozen different countries, and that was Iguazu Falls. Iguazu is how it appears, but Iguazu is how they pronounce it. I'd never heard of it before, so don't feel bad if it hasn't hit your radar yet. But it was the most spectacular thing I've ever seen. And it's definitely the most spectacular thing in the world people aren't talking about. That, I'm sure, sounds like an over-dramatized statement, but if anything, my words cannot pay it the level of respect it deserves. Trust me when I say, put it on your bucket list. It's just the most spectacular thing I've ever seen. It really took my breath away. I had anticipated it being very similar to Niagara Falls, in that you go and you see, and great, and then you go and you get a bite to eat. But this was a whole day experience. Hundreds of waterfalls spread across a giant national park. You go over some falls, under some falls, around other ones, and you see views that you think only an artist could sketch up, because I've never seen anything like it before. It truly blew me